Hi, it's Sarah here from Apples in October, and I'm going to tell you the first 3 things we need to start to make a skirt. Now these skirts are going to look lovely. That's a really large one for when I was a bit larger. And they are really flattering. Here's another one. They are beautiful, shapely. This one has a butterfly on the back. They have a zip here and they have lining just so they don't stick to you when you're walking around or stick to your tights. So to begin your sewing adventure with me, you're going to need 3 things. So we're going to start with the first thing is a tape measure. Now any tape measure will do. These ones are very, very cheap. These ones come free with stuff, or you can get the free ones in a stocking or a free sewing kit, or the sewing kits that aren't free but you steal them anyway from hotels. They often have a little tape measure in, that will be enough. Or if you're into gadgets, this is one from a company called Renfo, and this is really good because you can pop it round yourself. It's got a little lock and a little button that will tighten on you when you press it, and that way you don't need help holding both ends of the tape measure, and it'll talk directly to your phone and it will record the measurements that we're looking for. So we'll come back to that, but that is the first thing we need. The second thing we need is a sewing pattern. Now sometimes sewing patterns, we get ones that you can print at home so that it's sort of instant. You decide you want to make that thing, you can start that day by printing out the pattern and then sticking all the pieces together. Now, as we're beginning, we're starting at the very beginning, we're not going to do that. We're just going to get one that is already printed. This is a great little pattern and you can use it time and time again to make 100 skirts. So we're going to order this. This is the Cloth Kits A-line skirt. You can get it from clothkits.co.uk. I'll put a link underneath this. So that is number 2. Number 3, we don't actually need yet, but I think it's worth talking about. So number 3 is the sewing machine. So we have any sewing machine. This is a children's sewing machine that I bought for my son because he decided he wanted to sew things like I did when he was little, and they're very inexpensive, but I don't suggest you actually buy a sewing machine at this point. This is the beginning of our sewing adventure. We don't know what sort of sewing we're going to enjoy. If we're going to enjoy it, do not buy a sewing machine if you don't have one. The likelihood is that a member of your family has one lying around that you can borrow for a week. Do that. Or a friend has one that you can borrow, or there are lending libraries of things like sewing machines that you can borrow. Or you could even ask in your local sewing shop if they've got one you can borrow just to see if you like it. They might have a little second-hand one knocking around that they could lend you for a couple of weeks or hire to you or something. It doesn't have to be fancy. I think we could make our skirt on something very straightforward like this, or it could have lots and lots of bells and whistles. I'll show you both ways of doing things. Don't panic if your sewing machine looks different. Just a sewing machine. But we don't need it yet. I just wanted to talk about it because I think that when people start sewing, they really panic about the whole sewing machine aspect. There's very little sewing is actually using a sewing machine. But we do need one. It is important. So first of all, what I do, the first thing I do before I make a thing is I decide on the pattern I'm going to use, and that's this one, and I grab a piece of paper. Now, then I write B, W, H. And that is bust, waist, hips. And that's where our tape measure comes in. So all we have to do is go around our boobs and write down. Now, if you're into inches, write it down in inches. If you're into centimetres, write it down in centimetres. It doesn't matter because we should have both to reference, don't panic. If you are into inches but you don't want to know what your measurements are, measure in centimetres. That's a good tip if you just distance yourself from these numbers. So measure, for this skirt we actually don't need the boobs. So all you need to measure is your waist and your hips. Now your waist is the thinnest part around the middle, and your hips, if you can find the bone that sticks out, that's your hip bone. Just measure between your two hip bones and round, and that is the number that you need to write down next to H. So waist and hips, that's your homework. So number 1, find a tape measure and measure. Number 2, get this pattern. It will arrive in the post in a matter of days. And number 3, find any sewing machine that you can beg, borrow or steal, and then you're ready to begin this beginner's sewing journey with me.